Hiya! Welcome! Records Roundup number 10. We're in double figures now, and I'm going to show you 4 albums I've recently purchased today. I was hoping it was going to be 5 actually, because there was 2 albums technically on the day of me recording that came out today. One of them actually received yesterday. I'll show you that one first. The other one, I tracked it, and they were both on the same website as well, but they were 2 separate orders. And one was sent via DHL and the other one via Royal Mail. And the one sent via Royal Mail I don't think is going to come today, probably because of the recent Royal Mail strikes and everything. But that's fine, I can show you that in number 11 of Records Roundup. But I've still got 4 albums to talk about with you today. The first one, as I say, technically came out today. It's a reissue. Probably an album that's been reissued a dozen or more times over the past 40 odd years. It's come out for National Album Day 2022, which isn't an event I've particularly paid much attention to in previous years, but when I started seeing some of the listings for National Album Day this year on my usual record sites, I thought, oh, hang on, there's an album there. I've been wanting to buy it for ages. I've just never sort of pulled the trigger. They've reissued it on a special limited edition for this particular event. Why not I just order it? And I ordered it along with a box set that isn't out till November. And I think that's why it got sent out quite quickly via DHL, because I paid like sort of a premium postage rate for both pre-orders. I'm talking about the debut album from Black Sabbath, self-titled of course. There's your National Album Day hype sticker. What's it say on it? The self-titled debut album which instigated the heavy metal genre. I like the slight aggressive tone to that, instigated the heavy metal genre. And it says it's on purple and black spatter vinyl. I think that should be the other way around really. I think it should say black and purple spatter. We'll open it up and see anyway. Limited edition, Black Sabbath. Don't really need to explain who Black Sabbath are, to be very brief and concise about it. I think they formed in what would have been the late 60s in Birmingham, England. Ozzy Osbourne's band for a number of years, and then he left and rejoined, I think. I've not heard much on here, but it's an album I wanted, and my Funko fans who are the viewers of this channel will know why. I've had the Funko Pop of this particular album sleeve for quite some time now, and it's one of my favourite figures in that particular line that I collect. And I always say, really, when I'm collecting these pop albums, as they're called, I really ought to have the actual album to go with it, and I never did for Black Sabbath until now. I always intended I would pick up a copy one day, and then when I saw that it was being reissued for National Album Day, I just thought, yeah, now's the time. I think the price on Townsend Records was about £20. It was confusing as to the postage. I think it was quite a lot in postage, but I don't know if they charged me twice and then just bundled it together, or it was one overall cost and the other thing is a box set, which I knew would be more postage anyway. And as I say, that's not out till sometime in November. Right then, I said I'd get Black Sabbath open so that we can inspect the vinyl. Let's do so. I think this is a gatefold sleeve. How successful I'm going to be at getting into this and then being able to keep the hype sticker, we shall see. What I tend to do, particularly with gatefold sleeves, where the hype sticker's on the cellophane. I always hate that. I like the olden days where they just stuck the hype sticker on the album itself. What I tend to do, I'll just sort of cut round the hype sticker on the cellophane, and then just when I've put the album into a gatefold protector, I'll just slide it under so it looks like it's still stuck to the album sleeve. That's open relatively neatly. It's only a 1-disc album this, even though it's gatefold. White centre label. Ah yeah, that's nice. I would say it's really black and then some purple spatter, but on the hype sticker it kind of gives you the vibe that it's kind of gives you the impression that it's purple and then there's some black spatter. But yeah, that's really nice. That I'm really happy to own this album. I don't collect an awful lot of heavy metal. In fact, I've got very little in my collection, even though there's a fair bit of hard rock that I like. I mean, obviously I'm a Rammstein fan, and they're always going to be lumped in that metal genre. And same with Ghost, actually. I'm a massive fan of Ghost, but I don't know, they're more than just straight up heavy metal to me, particularly Rammstein. I mean, they're sort of industrial, Neudeutsche Harte, I think is the term. Straight up hard rock, the early years, the very early years. Maybe to some people, the very first strictly heavy metal album that ever came out, this. But certainly an iconic release, one for National Album Day. The special theme for it this year was debut albums. From Townsend, Black Sabbath and Black Sabbath. Right, next album, an impulse purchase. I'm not entirely sure why I actually found this. I just came across it on the off chance. It was on the Sound of Vinyl. It's kind of in the similar vein to, if you recall back to, it would have been, I think, Records Roundup number 8. I'd picked up a Music on Vinyl reissue of Alcazar's Casino, which was a debut album from Alcazar, a Swedish Europop new disco outfit from the early 2000s. And I've got another Music on Vinyl reissue here, and this one I'm even more excited about than Alcazar. It's an album I don't think even charted in the UK. It's their second album by Eurodance Project, which immediately ticks a load of boxes for me. Sacrilege as it might be to some of the more crusty, hardcore vinyl community members. I'm a big fan of cheesy Eurodance and that sort of 1990s techno-y bubblegum dance, maybe. I'm talking about this album here, Slave to the Music by 24/7. Technically it's classed as 24/7, featuring Stacey and Nance. Now then, 24/7, I do remember them, particularly in the sort of turn of the 1990s, where they had a couple of top 10 singles here in the UK, and they always featured the guy called Captain Hollywood. He was a rapper, and he split from 24/7 after the first album to really have his own solo career with the Captain Hollywood project. So 24/7, which is basically like a Dutch producer guy, he regrouped with the original female singer Nance there, and new rapper Stacey, and Slave to the Music, as I say. This, although I think it sold all right on the continent, it wasn't as big, and they didn't have any big singles here in the UK off this album like they did with the first one. I just came across this just by accident. I thought, wow, I've got to have it. I think it's a limited edition, yes it is, and it's on crystal clear and blue swirled vinyl. It does mention what presumably would have been all the singles off this: Slave to the Music, Is It Love, Take Me Away, Leave Them Alone. And it's on 180 gram audiophile vinyl. It's come in one of these adhesive sleeves here. It's got the hype sticker on. That's come with a nice insert, kind of like, reminds me of the sort of inserts you would have got in records in the 80s and 90s. I like that. Plain white in it. Oh, that's nice. So there you are, your crystal clear blue swirly disc. Not heard an awful lot on this album. Certainly not compared to their earlier stuff from around 1990, 1991. This will be from, I think, 1993. As I say, they'd stopped having hits here in the UK. As far as I can tell, this is the only one of their albums that has been reissued via Music on Vinyl. I will probably double check that in case their first album ever got a reissue, but I've got a feeling it never did. I think this just goes to prove the sort of diversity, really, of the vinyl community. And it's diversity that I think we need. You know, it's all very well that, like, YouTube video makers come on and, like, they're just talking about the latest jazz albums they've picked up and psych and prog rock. And I mean, if you're into all that, great. Certain things I can take or leave, other things I'm really into, and then the one or two things I'm not into at all. But I do consider my taste fairly eclectic. but I'll always really double down and properly collect the genres that I'm really into. And being a guy who was born in the early 80s and then grew up as a preteen and a teenager in the 90s, this is the sort of stuff that I was into when I was growing up. Has it aged brilliantly compared to what you can listen to that's released today, 30 odd years later? No, not necessarily. But I like it, and it maybe seems a little bit sacrilegious to release something like this on the Music on Vinyl label, which supposedly specialises in these audiophile reissues, but hey, if people didn't want it, then they wouldn't bother. And there's only 2,000 of them, supposedly, in the world anyway. I'm made up to get this as anything European, and just with that kind of really fun, high-energy cheese and that sort of dated yet catchy production style that a lot of these European acts, and there were quite a few having hits in the UK and certainly continental Europe, and even some of them managed to, have some traction in the US. I'm thinking of acts like Hadaway, for instance. I know What Is Love became quite a big hit in America, and this is just in that sort of arena for me, really. This is one of my most exciting of these 4 pickups here. I think maybe the next 2 albums I'm a little bit more excited about for different reasons, but even so happy that I picked up Slave to the Music by 24/7.
Take your time, find a way to do control the line. Let the record get into your mind, and let it start to renovate. Do it good, do it now, and don't you wait. I'm an addict, I don't give none. Yes, I'm hooked up on music on the run. If you want to be high, take your score and give me more. Slave to the music.
Right, the final 2 albums to show you are both pickups from Juno Records, who I've used, I think, only used them once, maybe twice before, because I think I've used them via eBay once actually for a Rammstein LP. But I was just browsing on there, kind of seeing if they'd got anything different that wasn't showing up on any other site, and I came across a compilation album. I don't buy that many compilations really, but I came across one and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe I found this just by browsing aimlessly, really. And what I also like about Juno is the majority of the stuff they list, you can actually listen to it. They've got like a pop-up media player, so if you click on a track, then you can actually listen to it. So I decided to do that for this compilation. I just click on a couple of tracks, I'm like, yeah, gotta have it, don't care, even if the rest of the album's not going to be particularly brilliant, which I'm sure it will be. I'm definitely getting this. It's a French record label's compilation, but it's not French music, although we will get on to something rather more French later on. This is actually a various artists compilation, Indian Vibes, the finest selection of electronic music with Indian flavour. Now, I don't know if people remember, but it would have been a couple of months or so back, I did in my Introduction to series a little showcase of some of my favourite Bhangra tracks. Bhangra, of course, is actually technically a music genre of British origin, but it, of course, has its roots in Indian folk music and, the Punjabi diaspora. I've never owned any Bhangra physically in my collection. The showcase video, an introduction to Bhangra, that's just stuff that I've had digitally for many years, really, and that's what those introduction videos are, to be honest. They're just sort of me showing a little bit of my digital music library that I've had for almost as long as I've been able to download MP3s, which I don't actually do anymore, ironically. That's why you'll never really hear anything within the last 10 years on those videos. To finally get a Bhangra album, one of my very favourite genres, really. It's up there for me with stuff like Euro dance and industrial and other dance musics, really, has been just a real sort of favourite of mine. I remember listening to the local radio station, Gem AM, out of Derby, when I was a kid in the car with my dad, and they'd have a Bhangra show on every week. I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday evening, and some of the music they'd play, it was such a treat. Most of this I won't be familiar with, however there's a pretty big hit on here. It's track 2 on side A, and it's Punjabi MC's Mundian Tobak K, which was a really big hit, about 2003, 2004, and I think Jay-Z kind of latched onto it, didn't he? And I don't know if he did like a kind of remix or he did his own version, but he sort of made it into more of a kind of global hit. Also, Asian Dub Foundation is on side B. It's a 2-disc compilation, by the way. Not familiar with that track of theirs, but I am familiar with a little bit of their work. Acts like Kid Loco, World Service, they kind of ring a vague bell. I don't really think I'm that familiar. And then other acts on here, other artists I've never heard of, but Indian flavoured music, Bhangra, or, you know, anything with a kind of South Asian sort of vibe to it. I'm saying vibe again. I'm so happy that I've got this. Possibly my favourite pickup of the 4, although the final one I'm going to show you, another impulse purchase really, was also pretty exciting to me. But I think this one, just simply because of the variety of it, I'm really going to enjoy, and I've finally got some Bhangra music into my physical collection after all these years. So there we are, Indian Vibes.
Phote phul apon
I haven't bothered opening that because it's just standard black vinyl. Now the final thing to show you, also from Juno, is a picture disc. This is from an artist. I do search for him from time to time. I don't know, I've just got this kind of intrigue about this guy. I think he passed away, would have been a bit over 30 years ago. 1991's ringing a bell. One of the biggest celebrities, you know, obviously mainly a singer. He probably did some acting as well. It was just generally kind of an eccentric raconteur in his native France. I've always fancied owning an album of his. You know, there's plenty of compilations out there. Juno, to their credit, had a lot to choose from this guy. But when I saw that this one in particular was up on the side, this was the one that I wanted to begin my Serge Gainsbourg collection with. This is his 1984 album, reissued this year on picture disc, Love on the Beat. Now then, it's a controversial one, this, or at least one track on here is very controversial, and I'll play you a little bit, hopefully, assuming that I don't have to cut it right away for copyright. The final track on the album is one called Lemon Incest, which I've been familiar with. I've got that track digitally and have had it for many years. It was one Serge recorded with his then 13-year-old daughter, Charlotte Gainsbourg, whose mother was Jane Birkin, who, of course, duetted with Serge Gainsbourg in the 60s on Je t'aime moi non plus. To get my clip ready for this video, I looked up the promo video, and I didn't watch it all, because I didn't need to. I just wanted to find a section to be able to play in this video. But the promo video looks a bit iffy as well. A song about incest, duetted by a middle-aged man and his teenage daughter's a little bit strange, isn't it? And this cover's strange as well, but look at that. I don't own that many picture discs. I think that's the other side of the picture disc, side B, so I won't bother getting this open. But you can see certainly the effect of side A here with Serge Gainsbourg with kind of this feminine makeup on. A real character, Serge Gainsbourg. It's surprising the amount of stuff of his that I'm actually familiar with, really. I've got a little bit of his work digitally. I've also got the Je t'aime single, an original 1969 pressing. That's been one of my all-time favourite pop singles for almost as long as I can remember. Je t'aime by Serge Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin. This album was recorded, I believe, in New Jersey, and it was sort of Serge Gainsbourg's first and probably only foray into sort of new wave music. You know, obviously 1984 new wave was really coming to the forefront. And Serge Gainsbourg, while he was sort of, you know, well known for movie soundtracks and that sort of somewhat lecherous lounge lizard sort of style since I think the late 50s, I think he originally got going. And this was a bit of a departure. On the Juno player on their website, I did listen to I think one other track on here, I can't remember which one it was, might have been Kiss Me Hardy, actually, the last track on side A, and that sounded great as well. And I just thought, I want a Serge Gainsbourg album. I'm familiar with the infamous Lemon Incest on here. Let's get this one. And I may end up picking more Serge Gainsbourg albums up. He's an artist I like. I mean, not really the sort of thing that I'd be into, you'd think, but something about the guy just sort of fascinates me. I'd like to learn more about what would have, I'm sure, have been a really interesting life that he led. He was certainly someone who was hard drinking, hard smoking, and hard womanising till the very end. And it's good that his stuff's still getting reissued in the modern era, and people like me, newer fans I suppose you could say, can discover him. So there we are, that is Serge Gainsbourg with Love on the Beat.
Plus que tout. L'amour que nous ne ferons jamais ensemble est le plus beau, le plus violent, le plus pur, le plus enivrant.
Exquise kiss, délicieux enfant.
There we are, that's Records Roundup number 10, done and dusted. Got some great stuff to show you that's on pre-order, and as I say, one record that is out today that I don't think's going to arrive in the post today. There's a chance it might, but it doesn't matter if it does because I'll just show you that in number 11. But thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed this, and I want to say special thanks as always to my wonderful subscribers and my generous patrons, of course. Please see my Patreon link, Facebook group link, and a link for contents insurance down in the description text box. They always are, you know. I'm going to go now. Plenty of stuff here to listen to. Let me know. Not many people really let me know, but I'll ask anyway. But let me know which one you would like to listen to first out of these. I don't really mind, although, as I say, particularly the Indian Vibes compilation, and probably Serge Gainsbourg and 24/7 to a slightly lesser extent as well. I'm so excited to hear those. But which would you listen to first? Which wouldn't you be interested in? There's a very eclectic mix here. We've got heavy metal, we've got Bhangra, we've got Eurodance, and we've got an old-aged French lech attempting to, rather late in life, enter the 1980s new wave scene with his teenage daughter. Anyway, don't think about that too much if it grosses you out. What a way to end on that bombshell. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you again, and please will you join me again next time for my next Records Roundup and Music Collective video. Cheers everyone. See ya!